and hello and welcome to AleksTabletops MTG Quick Study Best of 3 Direct Challenge 9. My name is Alex and let's start our 9th Best of 3 match. Okay, so let me launch it and I guess proceed. So in this matchup, RippyG faced Damaya as a part of currently running Undercity Coliseum Community Tournament Round 9. Ideally, this is the best. This is the last round. Yep, versus Damaya. So ideally, this is the last round. I don't believe that they're planning any more rounds. I mean, there's going to be top 8 rounds now. So if you're not basically get into a top 8, you're eliminated from the tournament by design. So of course I'm going to be eliminated from the tournament, so that means that this is my last round, and it was quite good experiences. This is going to be our last recording. This is going to be a little bit more casual recording, I guess, because again, the game itself was pretty awesome, like, or not necessarily the game, the match. So yeah, I'm not going to spoil anything during the match, so let's just watch and analyze it. So I took a pretty decent hand. The reason to take this hand was actually, like, this is the first time in a tournament that I'm actually getting that big, like that awesome of a hand. I have Lana Else, I have Umpires, actually I got Lana Else a little bit later, it doesn't matter. I had two Tendershoot Dryads, I have Cyberlink Migration, and I have Lolate Giant. So ideally, like, you should take a hand if you have Cyberlink Migration and two Tendershoot Dryads, especially knowing that opponent has quite a bit, like enough removal, but I mean, we still will be able to play, like, to put a lot of Cyberlinks. The opponent doesn't have any mass removal, so the more Cyberlinks we will produce, the more chance for us to actually win. I actually thought that this matchup against my opponent is going to be quite even, because this is the first time that I'm actually faced an opponent with the same level of the inconsistency in the deck that I probably could have if I would build this deck a little bit better. Of course, my opponent's deck a little bit more consistent than mine, but again, it's still not like super clear and super surprising in some instances. Like, I didn't necessarily analyze the opponent's deck that well before playing. We're going to talk about the opponent's deck a little bit later. So at this point, opponent basically pressing me with lots of creatures that I'm not able to block. We can block 2/2, we can block flyers. We have lots of cards that could actually block flyers. I designed them specifically to face against Drake decks, but yeah, decided not to do so. Also, we have Plague Mayor, which is a thing that's basically will help us to remove small creatures, but again, unfortunately, opponent has only one of them. Again, opponent got lucky in the first turn by basically putting right away 2/2 that we can block anyway. We didn't have any removal, so we couldn't remove it from the game, and that was quite cool. And then 2 flyers, 3/2 that we again have nothing to do. We can't do anything about them. So it's quite interesting. So this is the first time that we actually be getting something that we'll be able to use for block. It's pointless to play it, we're going to die regardless. So instead I decided to do at least something by playing Plague Mare and removing at least 2 creatures from the battlefield. So again, the first match was basically super quick. It was like less than 3 minutes. By the way, I made quite a misplay. Like the first time, I forgot to use Vampire 9/8, Neonate. I don't know how to probably read it. Again, English not my native language, so sorry about that. So yeah, I basically got killed pretty quickly. Yeah. So while we preparing for the game 2. So again, game 1 was won by opponent. That was pretty quick match, and I kind of still thought that, okay, now at least I know how to fight against this deck. Again, usually we need to have a Plague Mare in order to remove small creatures. Opponent has quite a lot of them, so Plague Mare will help us. I decided not to play a sideboard version of the deck. Instead, we actually continued to play the same version. It's kind of will work better. So yeah, and quick reminder while we're waiting for a second match that MTG Quick Study is a series of 1 match episodes that best of 3 games in this instance that focuses on learning from my matches by rewatching and trying to analyze them. Direct challenge part of this series is an interactive way for you to challenge me and have the chance to be a part of MTG Quick Study willingly, not just by random, and also show off your decks, skills, and learn from your mistakes. Of course, everything that I said works only if you don't have your own way of doing so. So, I mean, if you don't record your matches, if you're not necessarily going to watch them or analyze them in any way after play, it could be a pretty good way of doing so. But if not, I guess we could do this here. So again, I don't know, should I or should I not? No, let's just, yeah, I guess now we're going into the second game. So I actually hoped to win a second game. It would be awesome to win a second game, because if I will win a second game, that means that first time in a tournament we're actually going to have 3 matches instead of 2, because before that I had a pretty weird experience. I either having 2 wins and 0 losses, or 2 losses, which is more common than 2 wins. Ideally, the true best of 3 is when one player wins 1 match, the other player wins 1 match, and then the final match basically decides who's the best, which is the whole point of the best of 3. And usually when you are just basically losing 2 matches in a row or winning 2 matches in a row, that means that either opponents basically didn't get lucky enough, or your matchup is pretty bad. I mean, you basically face the opponent that you're not prepared for, and your deck is not prepared for. Usually this is the case about the deck, not that you are not prepared for. So you either face the opponent that your deck was not prepared for, or you face of course, that way you're going to lose. And if you're going to win 2 matches in a row, that means that, again, that opponent is probably just has a weaker deck, or again, this is the worst matchup for your opponent. So here I actually spent lots of time to decide what cards actually to discard. It took me a long time to actually think about it. By the way, I recorded this match during the stream. I actually streamed, I streamed for 30 minutes or so when opponent actually contacted me. So I had to make a decision: should I play opponent now or during the stream, because opponent had only 1 hour to play, and this is exactly how much I'm going to stream, at least 2 hours or so. And I actually kind of wasn't sure if I should play with opponent during the stream or not. Then I decided, okay, let's make quite adjustments during the stream and actually play opponent during the stream. It's going to be better for opponent because opponent was kind of ready to play now, and because I might not get a chance to play tomorrow. So we had quite a glitch there. It's because I played in Russian language the game, and in order to play a tournament match I had to switch languages, and because of this there was quite glitch in the text on top when I put card in play. So again, I decided to discard 2 cards that I'm not going to be able to utilize properly. Again, discarding Poison Tip Archer, decision was that opponent is just going to remove it. Also, I wanted to keep Costly Plunder to do this. That was the idea. And of course I have to keep Plague Mare, because we know from the first match that opponent will be able to put small creatures that will Plague Mare just basically erase. And I don't know, apparently one of the reasons why opponent still didn't put anything in play is probably because opponent has full hands of removal, which deck has a lot, and not enough creatures, because again, usually this deck, on 3 lands, usually puts at least first creature in play, and the fact that opponent still doesn't put any creatures in play kind of worries him, because I truly I'm waiting for a demon, which probably will enter next turn, which will be quite a problem. But since we have Raska's Contempt and Raska Relic Seeker that we're getting mana for, hopefully we'll be able to remove it. So again, I'm not afraid of playing Raska's Relic Seeker because opponent doesn't have any counters, so we freely can play Raska here, which is pretty cool, which already kind of sets a win condition for this match, hopefully. if nothing will change. So again, slowly getting attack, like going into the attack mode. Finally, the first time ever in a tournament, I'm actually able to provide some type of a competition for opponent, because again, usually my deck is sucks. And this is kind of the first game that I actually, I don't know, we get somewhere. So again, opponent puts a pretty big threat, and if I didn't have Ruska's Contempt in play or Ruska's Relic Seeker, uh, it was probably would be troublesome. I mean, without having a removal against the demon could basically kill us pretty quickly. So yeah, but we got lucky again in terms of the cards, and opponent's still not getting lucky enough. Like, okay, we know that opponent now has at least one creature. Ideally, next turn we're winning if opponent is not going to do anything. I mean, opponent will of course destroy with Chupacabra this thing. Opponent probably not decides. I don't know. I don't remember. I don't remember if opponent decides to play. Yeah, decides to play a creature. One of the reasons why opponent didn't play anything, because opponent kept wanted to keep Chupacabra for something bigger, but then when Raskas entered the battlefield, it was basically already too late. So here we're basically using -9 ability, -10 ability, of course setting opponent's health to 1, attacking opponent. We could, by the way, use status in here to save our sapling, but it wouldn't be necessary. So, and we win our first second game, which is pretty cool, because this is actually happens for the first time ever. I mean, the fact that we played first match or first game and I lost it super quickly. Then we played second game and I won it kind of quickly. I wouldn't say that was super quick, but it was longer than in time than the first match. Either way, so again, so far I like this a lot, because this is the first experience for me in a tournament and playing best of 3 here, where we actually get to a true competitive play that I usually want from the game by playing best of 3 and from the tournament. But again, this is the problem with this tournament. I believe there was so many weird super crazy awesome decks that I believe we didn't had that many situations when players lost 2-1 or 1-1. In most cases, we had the statistics in this tournament like 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, and only a couple of, and not that many instances of the actual best of 3 kind of competition, which means that most of the players basically took the best decks possible and basically destroyed everyone with those decks, or worst decks possibles, and lose with them. And lost with them. So yeah, I don't know why I decided to take this hand. I mean, having 2 planeswalkers kind of seems a good idea. Again, opponent doesn't have any removal against planeswalkers, and since most of our planeswalkers will be able to remove creatures from play, it's actually quite a good thing. But turns out that it was quite a mistake to actually take this hand. Again, I was kind of too excited because of the fact that I won, and we actually had quite a good chat with the opponent during the match and after the match. So I don't know, I was more interested in chatting and discussing something with the opponent than just playing the match necessarily. Again, it's all about interaction, it's all about gaining experience in in communicating, because for me this is the reason why I entered the tournament. I entered the tournament not for win. This is something that I can do outside of the tournament, just play matches and win them or lose them. You can play game outside of that, but again, to connect with people, to learn how to better speak or talk with them and basically communicate overall, because for me personally it's quite hard because English is not my native language, and sometimes it's pretty hard to get my point across right away and quicker. Sometimes my brain works fine and I'm basically shooting English sentences in English pretty well, but there are cases, and there are quite a lot of them, when I'm basically getting stuck in trying to get my point across, and it was weird. It's basically weird. So here we're basically getting into an aggressive game. I actually kind of from the first game I understood that this deck is quite aggressive, and it works with a lot of flyers. Then if we're not going to be able to block, we're basically going to die pretty quickly. So we're basically right now playing a true game of chess, not chess, but true game of pace, where everything comes down to whomever is going to kill who first. So I'm trying to kill opponent as fast as possible, and opponent tries to kill me as fast as possible. Opponent deals me 6 damage per turn, I deal 5 damage per turn to opponent. And also the good thing is that we removed one of the biggest creatures that actually could kill us in the previous turn. Again, this is a race from now on, unless we're going to get a removal, so I'm truly hoping for removal. But again, even if we will get a removal, it's not necessarily going to change much, because opponent has 2 Siren Storm Tamers that basically could be sacrificed to save one of the creatures. So good, we had Raska. So here, I actually had multiple choices. I had a choice of killing at least one creature, but again, that way with -3 ability of the Raska, opponent would just basically counter it and we would lose it. So instead I decided to just basically gain additional life. I know that's not going to change anything. I'm going to lose next turn, because again, unfortunately we didn't have any flyer blockers here, which basically the hand that we took played against us, and opponent basically got better situation in hand, I guess, and deck is a little bit more consistent that way, because again, just put creatures in play, attack with them while you can, and drain opponent as fast as possible. So overall, that was quite a good one, and it actually was the quickest match in a tournament like ever. I mean, usually we had pretty quick matches in a tournament. I actually kind of played for couple of yeah, I guess overall, like, it took us 17 minutes, maybe even less. So yeah, then the next thing that we're going to do, we're going to analyze opponent's deck. So let me switch it. So let's just close this one. I played another match with the opponent a little bit like after this one. We're not going to include this match in this recording because it's not a part of Undercity Coliseum tournament. Not maybe, but I actually will upload this match a little bit later as part of MTG Study Direct Challenge regular matches. But for now, let's just bring opponent's deck and go quickly through the deck, see the good part about this deck or the bad part about this deck, if we will find one. There are no bad decks in my opinion. I mean, competitive players will say that bad deck is this is the inconsistent deck, but for me, I mean, as long as you have fun, it doesn't matter if your deck is good or bad. As long as you have fun, it's awesome. It's pretty hard to have fun when you're losing, of course, but some people actually try to have fun even in losing. I'm trying to be one of those people that actually tries to have fun even in losing, especially if you actually focused on utilizing your own kind of agenda in your deck, or no, for weird strategy in your deck, and even if you're losing but closer to realizing this strategy of your deck, weird but cool strategy of your deck, it's actually gives me more pleasure than just winning with super like top tier deck, because I truly don't like top tier decks at all. I mean, I'm kind of feeling sometimes kind of disgusted by them, not because I'm constantly losing to them. This is one of the parts, of course, but one of the reasons why I don't like that much top tier decks is because they are too predictable. I mean, like, you 100% know what exactly opponent will play, and this predictability makes this game for me personally not that interesting. This is the reason why I already talked about it multiple times. I'm not a freaking competitive player. I play for fun. I play for experience and for interesting situations. This is the reason why from now on AleksTabletops is going to focus more on a casual play than before. Yes, I'm not going to get that many views because of this. I actually didn't get any before. Doesn't matter. So, but still, I mean, just playing for fun, playing for experience, and just being me, not trying to be someone else like I tried to do before. I tried to become better player at Magic. I tried to become a little bit more competitive. But again, the only thing that I got is misery from that. I learned some things, of course, but yeah. So from now on, we're focusing on kind of a little bit more casual way of playing and analyzing things. I will still try to become better at Magic, but in a little bit on a little bit different capacity, I believe. So not by becoming a super awesome and dominant player and not like focus on total dominance, but instead focusing on a clever and unique play, which is a realm in Magic for that. I mean, there is a place and niche in Magic for that type of players, because again, this is the one of the parts that I love about Magic, this freedom that every type of player could play Magic. There is a place for casual players, there is a place for Johnnies, for teamies, for spikes. If you're a spike, go play a tournament and play for win. This is the way that you have fun playing. Like, yeah, if you're a Johnny or Timmy, you're better suited maybe for a casual player, but again, it's not always the case, but still. So yeah, that's kind of it. So yeah, let's just go and quickly analyze the opponent's deck. So again, one of the things that I noticed right away in opponent's deck, that the fact that opponent did had 4 copies of Drowned Catacombs, which already kind of tells me that this is kind of a budget deck, which is already kind of makes me think, okay, good, I have the same problem, which means that we're probably going to mix well in terms of the match. I mean, this already creates a pretty even matchup, like the mana fix itself. The fact that opponent has 25 lands is kind of interesting too. We will see why exactly opponent has that many lands, because it has a lot of small creatures, and additional lands seems unnecessary. But again, quite a lot of big cards, like Chupacabras, they're quite heavy. These are quite heavy, which is one of the key cards for opponent's deck that opponent might play with a lesser cost if creature attack this turn. Again, this is quite aggressive deck. Only 1 Twilight Prophet, 1 Demon, 2 equipments which we didn't saw throughout the game, because again, only 2 of them. Again, this one is cool. And kind of the rest are murders, or removals. So 7 instants, and all of them are murders of some kind. 2 cards that actually force opponent to discard a card, which is pretty cool. Again, and in terms of the creatures, again, I like these type of decks, because these type of decks are actually create a pretty interesting competition for mid-range decks in general. They are interested, they are unpredictable, because you're not necessarily 100% sure what opponent will do. I mean, the whole strategy of the deck is clear, it's aggression, but besides aggression, we have like the element of control, with removal, with discarding, and also we have a pretty interesting sideboard, again with protecting your creatures with Siren if opponent tries to delete them, having a freebooter here, kind of the element of control of some kind, again having additional discarders, Rosk's Contempt, and 4 vampires, which opponent actually had in the second game, I believe, or in the third one. I actually remember opponent put one of them in play. If or not, I don't remember. No, it might be a different game. Doesn't matter. So again, it was quite cool. I mean, like these type of decks, to fight against these type of decks are actually interesting, because they are quite unpredictable. And when you play with unpredictable deck, which is mine, this deck more fits to a singleton format, if you will remove at least 1 card from here. But in most cases, this is the way that I like to play, and from now on I will try to focus a little bit more on a casual way. Like occasionally I will create decks that will have lots of copies of 1 card to make them efficient, and to make sure that these cards will play well, especially if the deck is built around this strategy of this card. But in most cases, I mean, I have more fun if I create this type of like inconsistent deck. Someone could say like, why would you create a 1 inconsistent deck that like instead of creating just 3 different decks with one solid strategy each? which might be the case, but again, these decks again are predictable. Once you will put one card in play, you already know what this deck is all about in most cases. And if I will place a weird combination of cards in my current deck, opponent is not going to be able to predict what I have, which basically confuses opponent's strategy, especially if opponent builds deck against something that opponent is predicting. So this is the kind of a part of Magic that, for me personally, I want to utilize from now on, like to create more decks that are unpredictable. Not that unpredictable as this one. This deck I completely realize now, the tournament is finished, and I learned a lot from this deck. This deck is completely the worst case scenario, because I had much better versions of this deck before. Actually, the last version of this deck is actually too unpredictable. It's not working in the tournament at all. It actually might work quite well during the regular play, which is the thing that I tested it in, but still, I mean, yeah. So basically, if you want to create these type of fun decks, still try to make them a little bit more consistent. And now, from now on, it's just going to be all about balance. How to find the balance between making deck unpredictable, but still kind of consistent. So kind of find a balance between unpredictability and consistency. This is going to be my personal balance seeking a balance, because again, I am a truth seeker during the streams in Magic overall. This is my kind of some sort of a nickname, the truth seeker. All of my decks are some kind of a seeker decks. They either seek for nature, they either seek for something else. And usually I will build these decks around the basic strategy, like the name and the theme of the deck. And I try to put all decks that work with nature here, which does not probably work that much. I mean, this deck is quite mixed in terms of what it produces. But again, nature is all about living and dying, and this deck kind of embodies it pretty well. But unfortunately, it's too inconsistent. But still, I had fun playing tournament overall. So let's just slowly finish this, my final thoughts, and just finish the video, because why we would need to make this video twice as long when matches were ended 10 minutes ago. So let's just slowly finish on that note. Again, opponent had a pretty awesome deck, would want to play against opponent at some point. We actually kind of after the stream chatted quite a lot and quite a while, and there is a chance that we might play at least like in the future, because again, it's all about making connections. And even if I made only one connection during this kind of tournament, it's still awesome. But we actually kind of talked about playing with multiple opponents, but because of the time difference, I don't believe that we're going to be able to reach ourselves like in proper time in order to play with my opponent. We actually don't have that, like in this round match opponent, we didn't have that much of a time difference, so that means that we're probably going to more likely to schedule the games even with the overloaded schedule, because 2 hour difference is not that big of a deal. So yeah, so on that note, we're going to basically kind of sums it up. So thank you for watching. If you like this video, give it a boost and invite your friends, because this is important for Direct Challenge. If you want more, subscribe and set the bell note. Visit AleksConnects on Twitch to be a part of MTG. Oh, wait a minute, we're already not on Twitch. Yes, I forgot to change this information. So yeah, from now on, again, as I said before, we transitioned all streaming, all gaming content on AleksTabletops, and from now on, if you want to see our MTG Study live sessions, join us here at AleksTabletops, not on Twitch. We removed from Twitch, basically not removed, but we transitioned from Twitch, and now Twitch is going to focus only on creative stuff. And here we're going to basically play games. So yeah, here on AleksTabletops, join us in MTG Study live sessions. That from now are going to be quite interesting in schedule. I quite changed them. We're going to play Magic Arena a little bit less and focus on studying Magic a little bit more. again, a part of the casual initiative that I'm integrating lately. So have a nice day or night, and we again see you in the next best of 3 direct challenge, which are going to be outside of the Undercity Coliseum community tournament. So the next videos are just going to continue to be uploaded to this playlist. It's still going to be a part of best of 3 direct challenge, but it's not going to be a part of any type of tournament. So we're just going to play some direct matches against certain opponents in direct challenge, and once those matches are played and recorded, I'm going to again go through the casual analysis, through the commentary, and upload them here. Again, these matches are quite unpredictable. This is not the same as our kind of constant schedule of MTG Study, MTG Quick Study. Because again, direct challenges, you have to find people to play, you have to have time, and basically, yeah, it's not something that will be uploaded on a constant basis. It's more like a random thing. But still, see you in the next best of 3 direct challenge, whatever it's going to be, and bye